let's solve for this system of equations here. So there are 3 variables and 3 equations here. So I will solve it by reducing matrices. So let's write it in form of a matrix. Okay, so here is the first row. So the coefficient here is 1, 3, and 5. So I will write 1, 3, and 5. And then on the right side of the equal sign is 11 here. So I will write 11 here. Second row, 3, 2, and 1. So I would write 3, 2, 1, and the value on the right side of the equal sign is 5. So 5. The third row, so the coefficient is 2, 1, 2. So 2, 1, 2. And the value on the right side of the equal sign is 4. Okay, so here's the matrix form. So what we're trying to do here is, okay, so let me write it here. What we're trying to do is reduce the matrix into this. So maybe 1, 0, 0, and then a number here. And then 0, 1, 0, and then a number here. 0, 0, 1, and then a number here. Like that, right? So because that is x1, x2, and x3. So we get x1 equal to number, x2 equal to number, x3 equal to number. Then we solve this system of equation. So we're trying to get to this point here. However, sometimes you may not be able to get to this point because let's say maybe there's no solution to the system of equation here. Then you will not be able to get to this point, right? But we will try our best to do that. Well, let's see how we go, okay? So let's do this here. Now, so to get to that point, we have to perform some operation to this matrix here. So what do? Okay, what can you do? Or you can interchange 2 rows, or you can multiply a row by a constant, or you can multiply a row by a constant and then add to another row. Then you replace that other row with what you just did, okay? So let's start. So let me see. Ideally, what I want to do is, first thing is that, right? Can I make this equal to 0 or make this equal to 0? Well, it's possible because there's a 1 here, right? All I need to do is just multiply the first row by -3. And then I just need to add to this row. Then I will make this 0. Right? Of course, I have to add, then I have to multiply -3 to each of this number and add to this number, right? Okay, so let's do that and see how it goes. Okay, here. So first, -3 times row 1. I add to row 2. Of course, I will replace row 2 with that, right? Let's see how it looks like. So, of course, in this operation, row 1 will not change. So 1, 3, 5, 11, right? So row 2 will change. So -3 times 1 is -3 plus 3 is 0. -3 times 3 is -9 plus 2 is -7. -3 times 5 is -15. -15 plus 1 is -14. And -3 times 11 is -33. Plus 5 is -28. And of course, row 3 will not change. 2, 1, 2, 4. Okay, now this one is 0 here. Now, the next thing is I'm trying to make this one equal to 0. How can I do that? Okay, so I can multiply row 1 by -2. So if I add that to the row 3, right, it's -2 plus 2 here, will make this 0. And then, well, of course, I have to multiply all this number by -2 and then add to this row, right? Okay, let's see that. -2 row 1 plus row 3. Replace that to row 3. Right? See how it goes. In this operation, row 1 and 2 will not change. Okay, row 3 will change. Now, how is it like? -2 times 1 is -2, plus 2 is 0. -2 times 3 is -6, plus 1 is -5. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10, plus 2 is negative 8. Negative 2 times 11 is negative 22, plus 4 is negative 18. Okay. Now, what can we do to this matrix? Okay, let's see here. They're all negative signs here. But we can just work with positive number. We can do that. We just need to multiply both row 2 and row 3 by negative 1. Then I can get rid of the negative sign. However, what we also see is that, right? In row 2, all these numbers are multiple of 7. So I can divide them all by 7 to reduce it a little bit more, right? So that may be easier. So I will multiply row 2 by negative 1 over 7. So here, negative 1 over 7, row 2, right? I will place with row 2. Well, at the same time, I will also want to multiply this row, right? Row 3 by negative 1 to get rid of the negative sign, right? So I will do that too. So negative row 3, negative 1 times row 3 is just negative row 3, right? I will write that. Replace row 3, right? See how that looks like. In this operation, row 1 will not change. Now row 2, right? Negative 1 over 7 times 0 is 0. Negative 1 over 7 times 7 will be positive 1. Negative 1 over 7 times negative 14 is 2. Negative 1 over 7 times negative 28 is 4. Right, 28 divided by 7 is 4. Okay, row 3. You multiply this by negative 1, right? So of course, negative 1 times 0 is 0. Like negative 1 times negative 5 is 5. Negative 1 times negative 8 is 8. Negative 1 times negative 18 is 18. Okay, so at least now we get rid of all the negative sign. Okay, now what can we do to this matrix here? Well, what we're trying to do really is, maybe I can, okay, so here's a 1 here, 1 here. This one should be 1, right? Because we want to get 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, right? So this one should be 1. So how do I do that? What I know is that, right? 5 plus 2 is 7. Then if I just multiply that by negative 1, and I can add to this row, I can make this 1, right? So okay, let me just add row 1 to row 2, right? So let me try to do this. Row 1 plus row 2 replace with row 2. Let's do it like that for now, right? So row 1 will not change. Then row 2, so 1 plus 0 is 1, 3 plus 1 is 4, 5 plus 2 is 7, 11 plus 4 is 15. Okay, so row 3 will not change. Next, I'm going to multiply row 2 by negative 1 and then add to row 3, right, to make that 1. Negative row 2 plus row 3, right, and then replace row 3 with that. In this operation, row 1 and row 2 will not change. Now row 3. So negative row 2, negative 1 plus 0 is negative 1. Negative 4, right? Negative times 4 is negative 4 plus 5 is 1. Negative 7 plus 8 is 1. And then negative 15 plus 18 is 3. Okay, right away what I do? Okay, I just change it back. I will change row 2 back to this one, right? Because this one looks better, right, for us. So to do that, I will just multiply row 1 by negative 1 and then add to row 2. Okay, so negative row 1 plus row 2 replace with row 2. Okay, let's see. Okay, negative 1. Okay, so row 1 will not change. Row 2, negative 1 times 1 is negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Negative 1 plus negative 1 times 5 is negative 5 plus 7 is 2, right? Negative 11 plus 15, 4, right? So I changed the row 2 back, right? So row 3 will not change here. Okay, what do I do next? Okay. Now, let's see here. We have 1, 1, 1 here, but we still have like 3, 5, 2, negative 1, and 1 here. But let's try to reduce it as much as we can. We know that this is a 2 here, right? So if I multiply this one by negative 3, I will get negative 6. If I add to row 1, I will make that negative 1, right? Yes, and of course, like this will, how would that go? This one multiplied by negative 3, and then offset this will come 0, right? So let's try that. Negative 3, row 2, plus row 1. And I will place it with row 1. Let's see how that goes. So row 1 will change here. So negative 3 times 0 is just 0, plus 1 is still 1. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, plus 3 is 0. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, plus 5 is negative 1. And negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Negative 12 plus 11 is negative 1. Okay, so row 2 and 3 will not change. Looks like it's getting simpler now, right? Yes. Okay, now, let's see here. Oh, what do you see here? If I add row 1 to row 3 here, right? This plus this will make this 0. And this plus this will make this 0. And 0 plus 1 will keep it 1. So it looks like we have 0, 1, 0 here, right? Let's try to do that. Row 1 plus row 2, right? And we'll, row 3. Row 1 plus row 3. And we'll place it to row 3. Okay, so row 1 and 2 will not change. Now, row 3, right? 1 plus negative 1 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Right? Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. Okay, like this. Now, you notice that this is 0, 1, 0, 2. Yeah, so this one here is here, right? The third row is 0, 1, 0. But what we want here is the second row to be 0, 1, 0, right? So what can we do? Okay, simple. This is the time that we will just exchange two rows, right? So we will interchange row 2 and 3. Okay, so row 2, right? And 3, exchange. 1, 0, negative 1. Row 1 would stay the same. Okay, so now move row 3 up to row 2. 0, 1, 0, 2. Now move row 2 down to row 3. 0, 1, 2, 4. Okay, so 1 is solved. Okay, now what's next? Okay, at least what we see is that, right? We can change this into 1 if we just add this negative 1 to this. Although this would make it 1 here, but let's try to do it, right? We're trying to make it 1, 1, 1, right? And see how we can eliminate the rest, right? So next, what we do is add row 1 to row 3. And we'll replace with row 3. I'll replace row 3 with that. Okay, so row 1 and row 2 will not change. Now row 3, so 1 plus 0 is 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Negative 1 plus 4 is 3. Okay, okay. So I have to go to another side to continue that. Okay, so here, look at this matrix here. What can we do here? At least what we can do is we know that this should be 0, right? Well, we can do that, right? At least we can take this, we multiply this one by negative 1, and like basically this row 2 by negative 1, and add to row 3, I can at least take this out, right? This will become 0, right? That's what I can do right now. So, and then of course, like this one will be negative 2 plus 3, right? And then become 1. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next. The next thing is I will take negative row 2 plus row 3. I will replace with row 3. Okay. Here. That means row 1 and 2 will not change. Okay. So 1, 0, negative 1. And then 0, 1, 0. Oh, this one is negative 1. This one is 2, right? Okay, row 3, right? Well, let's try, right? Negative 2. Negative row 2 plus row 3, right? Replace with row 3. Let's come back here. Now, negative row 2. So negative this plus this will not change, right? So it's 1 here. Negative this, negative 1 here, plus 1 is 0. Now this will not change, right? Plus 1 is still 1. So negative 2 plus 3 is 1. So what we have in row 3 is 1, 0, 1, and 1. Okay. Let me write this here. One, 0, 1, and 1. Okay, so now we're getting closer. Right? We have 1, 1, 1 here, right? Diagonally. Okay, let's get rid of the negative 1 and the 1 here. So what can I do? Okay, I can get rid of this negative 1 by just adding row 3, right? This one to this. Okay, but this will make it 2, right? Alright, that's no problem because when I have 0, 0 here, to get rid of this 2, all I need to do is just multiply by 1/2, right? To get to become 1, right? Okay, so next thing is row 3 plus row 1 and replace with row 1. Okay, so row 1 will change. 1 plus 1 is 2. 0 plus 0 is 0, right? 0 plus 0 is 0. 1 plus negative 1 is 0. 1 plus negative 1 is 0. Row 2 and 3 will not change. Okay. Now this one is easy, right? To make this 1, all I need to do is just multiply row 1 by 1/2. That's it, because 1/2 times 2 is 1. 1/2 times 0 will be just 0. 1/2 row 1 replace with row 1. So 1/2 times 2 is 1, right? 1/2 times 0 is 0. 1/2 times 0 is 0. 1/2 times 0 is 0. And then row 2 and 3 will not change. Okay, now there's only one more thing left to change. Just this one here. Okay. So how do I do it? Really easy. Because all this one here in row 1 is all 0, right? All I need to do is just multiply row 1 by negative 1, right? So only this will become negative 1, and I add to this row, and I can make this 0, and then without changing any of this. So negative row 1 plus row 3 replace with row 3. I'll replace row 3 with that, right? So row 1 and 2 will not change. Now, row 3. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Negative 1 times 0 is 0 plus 0 is 0. Negative 1 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. And then negative 1 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Okay. I got this form. 1, 1, 1 diagonally, and everything else is 0. And I have a value here. Okay, good. So that's the solution. So this is x1 is equal to 0, right? x1 is equal to 0. x2 is equal to 2. And x3 is equal to 1. So x3 here is equal to 1. Okay, let me write it better. So that's the solution to the system of equation here. So you want to validate whether they are correct solution, all you need to do just substitute into x1, x2, and x3 and see if you can get the value here. If they satisfy all the equations here, then they're good. Okay. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.